Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a fantasy Walt Disney World planning video. I'm gonna tell you where we're going, what time of year we're going, how much money we have to spend, how crowded it's gonna be. It's all in good fun, but it also is gonna be super helpful if you plan on going to Disney World this summer. And I'm really glad that you're here. Okay, so this whole thing started as an idea from one of you. And I had done a fantasy planning series when The Great Unpleasantness first started, and I'll put a link to that right here. That trip was truly a, no holes barred, money is no object, total splurge fantasy trip. This one is going to be a little bit different because I'm actually going to be doing this video as a series, and I did a drawing in my last video in this series where I picked a time of year, a budget, a crowd level, a party size, and a resort. So what I picked in that video is what we're going to be planning for today. Now, to be clear, the trip that I'm describing to you is not actually going to happen, but I have to tell you, it was really fun to do. Scott helped me since this is going to be a couples trip. So just to refresh your memory, what we drew, and I still have the little pieces of paper. Hold on. And I drew from my Loungefly bags. And by the way, I'm gonna do the drawing for the next video at the end of this one. So make sure you stick around for that. But we drew really hot as our temperature. We drew Port Orleans French Quarter as our resort. We drew, holy crap, who invited all these people as our crowd level. We picked couple as the party size. And we picked a comfortable budget. Now, I know that budget is kind of a tricky thing and everybody's gonna define that differently. For us, comfortable budget means no signature dining, but probably one table service restaurant a day, and just not a trip where we're super, super worried about money. I've had trips like that too. And by the way, that is one of our categories, is super budget trip. And I wouldn't say you want to ever go to Disney and be worried about money, but obviously some trips we have more disposable income than others. This would be kind of a middle of the road trip. So it actually worked out perfect that Port Orleans French Quarter was the resort that we chose because it is a moderate. And then one more disclaimer before I get into the planning. I am aware that a lot of the things I'm going to mention, including the resort we're staying at, are not even open right now. So everything about this is assuming a more normal operating situation. Don't comment, that place isn't even open, this place isn't open. I know. And honestly, anybody who's doing Disney planning videos right now, things are open or closed from week to week. It's pretty much impossible to keep up with it. So remember, this is a fantasy trip. We are going to make a huge assumption that everything that I'm mentioning is going to be open, okay? So let's talk really quick about travel in the summer and what we do differently than when we go in January. Number one, we are always going to take an afternoon break. Like, there is really no scenario that I can envision where we're gonna go into a park and stay from rope drop to park close during the heat of the summer. It's just not wise for us. And if you've never been to Disney World in the heat of the summer, then you may not be able to quite conceptualize how truly miserable a theme park is from about 1 in the afternoon until about 5 or 6 in the evening. But it is misery beyond compare. Now, for you, that may be great and you love to stay in the theme parks and you're just gonna squeeze every ounce out of every day. We're not those people. So we are always going to take a break. To be honest, we're inclined to take a break anyway, but in the summer, it is like non-negotiable. Just from a point of just sheer exhaustion, the heat takes so much out of you, and it's just not something that I want to do. So we sort of have a saying, done by 1. We are always going rope drop, so we get a little bit of lower temps first thing in the morning, although that is when it's most humid, but what are you gonna do? To about 1 o'clock after lunch, we're gonna have lunch somewhere air conditioned. We're gonna head back to the hotel for a break between 1 and about 5 or 6, and then we're gonna head back into the parks until park close. Now, normally, during the middle of the summer, and this trip is, we're going to assume this is happening sometime in July because it's really crowded and it's really hot. You're going to have extended park hours. Usually parks are going to be open till at least 9, usually 10, 11, 12. Obviously, right now, I haven't even checked to see if they've released park hours through July. I don't believe they have. But if the parks are crowded, they're going to have more extended hours. So it's just kind of the way it works. And we've had some lovely evenings in the summer in the theme parks when that sun has gone down. So it really can be a lovely time of the day. And then the last thing I want to say before I start going through day by day is why I feel like Port Orleans French Quarter was the perfect resort for this particular trip. Number one, its size. It is about half the size of Port Orleans Riverside. It's about half the size of Coronado Springs. It is very compact, and you do not want to have to be walking a lot outside in the summer heat. I love that it only has one bus stop. It just is a very comfortable place to stay. And I actually think it's super romantic. You've got the horse-drawn carriages that will pick you up over at Port Orleans Riverside. It's there on the Saskalula River. Beignets. I mean, how can you go wrong? Now, you may have heard me say on this channel that I really get a little bit crazy if I don't have a balcony. Not so in the heat of the summer, and here's why. You're not going out there anyway. So a balcony is kind of a waste to me in the summertime, and I think Port Orleans French Quarter is just lovely. Newly renovated rooms, wood floors, well, whatever the, fake wood is, very clean, very pretty, and also you've got so many advantages because you've got the pools there, and then also the ones over at Riverside. You've got the boat to Disney Springs. There's just a lot to love about this resort. Here's how our trip would play out, okay? Day one, now this is, oh, and I didn't even say how long we're there. That was the one thing I didn't draw for. So I think what we'll do for all of these trips is they will all be 5-night, 6-day trips. That seems to be kind of a middle of the road length. To me, it's a minimum amount to see what you want to see at Disney World, at least for my family. So we're going to make this a 5-night, 6-day trip. So day one is our arrival day, and we will either drive or fly, but either way, we typically end up getting there around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Where I live, it's about a 7-hour drive. It's like an hour-and-a-half flight. So we fly more than drive, but either way, we're usually there around 1. And we're going to bring our pool stuff in our smaller carry-on, and here's why. I just said we're not in the parks between 1 and 5, and that is even true on arrival day. So if we get there and our room isn't ready, we are going to go ahead and change into our swimsuits and hang out by the pool until our room is ready. And then once we get into our room, we're going to change and we're going to go into Epcot for dinner. Now, we normally have annual passes for this trip. Who knows if we would or not, but we're not going to spring for a park hopper. It just isn't something that we would utilize enough to pay the extra cost for. So we'll only be going to one park per day. So this will be our Epcot evening. This is where we will do World Showcase, and we will do counter service on that evening. We have lots of favorite Epcot counter service restaurants. We also love Tutto Gusto, which is not counter service, it's table service, but it's kind of a bar hybrid. And yes, I know it's not open, but we're assuming that it's open by then. We would love to do maybe France, somewhere inside, air conditioned, but really good counter service. They have such fabulous sandwiches in France. Oh my gosh, so good. And then we're just going to walk around World Showcase and enjoy the evening. Now, one rule of thumb that we don't always follow, and every time we don't follow it, I regret it, is don't make reservations on arrival night. You always think nothing's going to go wrong. You always think you're going to feel great and excited, but you might not. And if you have, tickets to a party or tickets to an after-hour event or even a dinner reservation, you don't want to be locked into something. So we always stay flexible on arrival night, and counter service is 100% the way we're going to go. Okay, so let's see. We got there and we're going to go back and we're going to get a good night's sleep. Day one is not going to be a super late night for us because even though we live pretty close and it's not that big of a travel day, I still find travel day really wears me out. And maybe it's because I'm getting older. Maybe it's because we've been to the park so much, but I like this to really feel like a vacation. So this is not going to be a late night for us. We're going to head back and get a really good night's sleep. Day 2, we are going to do Magic Kingdom rope drop. Oh, one thing I didn't tell you is I'm assuming a Sunday arrival because that's usually what we do. So the reason I'm doing Magic Kingdom is because it's a Monday, which is usually a pretty good day in the Magic Kingdom for crowds. We're going to rope drop Magic Kingdom. When Scott and I just travel, the two of us, we usually don't eat first thing in the morning. I'm not a big breakfast person anyway, especially right now. I've been doing intermittent fasting and I don't eat my first meal until lunchtime. So we'll just have coffee and bring our water in the room. We will always try to down a full bottle of water before we ever walk out the door. I'm trying to think if for this trip, would I pack our Brita water pitcher? I probably would. The Florida water tastes a little funky. I don't really like the idea of using disposable water bottles. So we will bring our own water bottles and I'll pack my little Brita water pitcher and we will fill that up in the room and keep it in the small refrigerator in the room. But we'll make sure we down a whole bottle of water. Again, going back to do not underestimate the heat and humidity in Florida. If you are thirsty, it is already too late. So you want to start your day really, really well hydrated. So we're going to do Magic Kingdom rope drop. We're going to ride whatever the headliners are that we want to ride there. And that's one thing I'm not going to get into is kind of order of what we're going to ride when, mostly because for a couples trip and if I have fast passes, then that's what we'll do, but I'm not really all that stressed out about rides. Maybe that makes us weird, but if it's just Scott and I, we're going to ride what we feel like riding and what we have fast passes for. And at this point, I would just have no way of knowing that. So just know we're going to ride some stuff. I mean, we ride everything at Magic Kingdom. There aren't any rides that we don't do. So just fill in the blank for whatever you think Scott and I should do. And then we're going to have lunch at Columbia Harbor House at 11 a.m. Now, this is kind of my MO every single time I'm at the Magic Kingdom because you can eat upstairs. It's air conditioned. I think the food is very good. They have a vegetarian sandwich that I love that kind of pops off and on the menu, but it was on last time I was there, which is the Lighthouse sandwich. Scott really likes the fish and chips. And again, as I said, it's air conditioned. It's like tons of indoor seating. And if you go upstairs, there's plenty of room for everybody. And it's just great to get out of the heat. So that's what we're going to do for lunch. We're going to ride a couple more rides until we look at each other and go, oh dear God, why is it so hot? And then we're going to go back for our break. Now during our break, we will probably do a combination of napping, swimming, checking our phones, really exciting things in our air-conditioned room, preferably with the lights out. We just need that time, both because we get overstimulated and the heat and the crowds and the whole thing. We're basically like toddlers, Scott and I, when we travel together, toddlers. And then we're going to head back to Magic Kingdom area. But this first night, this is actually our second night, but this night we decided we would do dinner at the Grand Floridian Cafe. Now, here's why I love this restaurant. If you're trying to stay away from signature restaurants, the food is very, very good. The ambiance is very pretty and sophisticated. So even though it's not a signature restaurant, it still has a very upscale feeling. It's the Grand Floridian, so who doesn't want to go to the Grand Floridian? And it's just a great place to go and enjoy and not feel rushed. And so again, we're going to come off of our break. We're going to go to dinner at the Grand Floridian Cafe, and then we're going to head back into Magic Kingdom. So we'll still have several hours after dinner. It's not, when you eat there, it's not one of those big drawn out meals like it would be, say, if you went to, Narcoossee's or California Grill. It's still going to be like an hour-long experience, but you're going to get good food, you're going to get air conditioning, it's not going to be too terribly expensive, and I just really, really like it there. So we're definitely going to have dinner there, go into Magic Kingdom until park close, and then we're going to head back to our resort. Now, because we get very irritated by huge crowds, and I mentioned this was going to be a very crowded crowded time of year, we are most likely going to be utilizing Uber and Lyft a lot during this trip. During times of super high crowds, Disney transportation is just, it makes me insane. I'm just not, I mean, even in the time before the Great Unpleasantness, in times when it's really crowded, it is just does not work for me. It drives me nuts. Crowded buses and park close. This is especially bad. So if it's a couples trip, what we're really likely to do is walk over to the Contemporary after closing, have a drink. Maybe I'll have a Prosecco. We'll hang out for a while, and then we will get Uber, Lyft, or you could get a minivan if you wanted, back to our resort. I feel like in the big heat of the summer, allowing extra money to pay for transportation that will be more convenient can make or break your trip. And for me, I'm like, I cannot overemphasize that. Crowded buses, summer temperatures, just no. It just doesn't work for me. I just don't do it. It's less of an issue first thing in the morning for me than it is at park close. I don't know if that, again, is because I'm overstimulated or whatever. But every single day of this trip, I have a contingency plan that keeps us off Disney transportation at park close. And it's just, you just have to do it because you've been on that bus, right? When it's like pitch black and everyone's exhausted and kids are crying and it's just no, not doing it. So that's how we're going to end our evening, and we're going to go back to the resort. Day 3. This is going to be our Animal Kingdom day, and we again we're going to do rope drop. I don't love that I have us doing rope drop every day, but again, I prefer to get out really early in the morning, and then as long as we get our nap in, we'll be fine. So we're going to go to Animal Kingdom. We're going to ride everything that we love there, and we're going to have lunch at Yak and Yeti. Now, Yak and Yeti is one of those restaurants that people have mixed opinions on, but for me, the food is good and the aircon is always really cold, and around 11:30 on a July day, it is exactly what I want out of life. I can get a margarita. I can get some fried green beans. They have some amazing vegetarian dishes. And again, it's not a signature restaurant. It's not going to take forever. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And we have a Landry's card, so we usually can get preferential seating. We usually sit upstairs. And we just, it's just a lovely restaurant, and we really enjoy it. So that's where we're going to have lunch. Then again, we're going to do a break between 1 and 5. And we're probably not going to go back to Animal Kingdom. And I kind of left that night open, so we could go back if we wanted to. But what we will more likely, we will go to Disney Springs and do counter service dinner at Disney Springs. There's so many different counter service places we love there. I love Blaze Pizza. Again, they have lots of indoor air-conditioned seating. We might even just kind of graze and do like a snacky dinner and pick up different snacks along the way. But this would be day of the week, Sunday, Monday. This is going to be Tuesday night, which is, in my opinion, a fabulous night to go to Disney Springs. You want to avoid Disney Springs really no matter what time of year, like the plague, on the weekends. Don't do it. Don't go on Friday nights. Don't go on Saturdays if you can avoid it. And Sundays even can be a little dicey, although I've had great luck with Sunday mornings, particularly if you want to do like brunch at Raglan Road. But yeah, Tuesday nights are great at Disney Springs. And then we're going to probably have an early evening, go back to the resort, maybe, just no stress that day. So it's kind of like a half park day, which honestly, by day 3, we will definitely be ready for a half park day. Day 4, that is going to be Hollywood Studios rope drop. Now, when it's crowded, rope drop to me is extremely important. So you've got heat and crowds. You want to be there early if you want to be able to ride those headliner attractions. Of course, we will try to do boarding passes for Rise of the Resistance. I know you can do that from your hotel room as well. Scott did not get a chance to ride it when we were there in January, but the boys and I did, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm really hoping to get him on that ride, especially because it's got so much, OG Star Wars, and that's my husband's wheelhouse. So he would be very happy. So hopefully he'll get to ride that when we go next January. But we're going to have lunch at Sci-Fi. Now, again, Sci-Fi is one of those ones that a lot of people are like, really? It's a couple's trip and you're going to go to Sci-Fi? Yes, it's dark. They have a really good veggie burger. The air conditioning is amazing. And it's a very sentimental pick for me. This is a place that my parents took me to when I was a kid. We always eat there when we go. I just adore it. So we're definitely going to go to Sci-Fi. It is one of those places you want to make as early of a reservation for lunch as you can. Sometimes they start at 11, sometimes they start at 11:30. But in our experience, it's one of those restaurants that if you make like a 1 o'clock lunch reservation, you can end up waiting a really long time, and that's not actually that fun. They only have a very small waiting area that's inside. So, but if you go like 11, 11:30, you're almost guaranteed to be seated right away. And that's what we like. So let's see, where are we? Day 4, Hollywood Studios. Interesting to note, Scott and I did this plan in pretty short order. It took us like 30 minutes because we know what we like and we know how to do this. So for your family, it may take you longer to talk through all of the choices. So again, I'm just sharing with you what we would do. Your experience may vary. All right, so then what's going to happen? Hollywood Studios, we're definitely going to take a break, and we might eat counter service at the resort before we head back to Hollywood Studios. The counter service, Saskaluga Flats, I believe it's called, is their counter service option there. I really like it. I think they have good choices. Of course, they've got beignets at every meal, because who doesn't want beignets at every meal? And yeah, they just have really good choices. They have some good salads on the menu, and that would just be easy. In my opinion, Hollywood Studios counter service is a little so-so, so I would probably prefer to just sit at our resort. Usually the resort counter service restaurants are not crowded for dinner. So that's kind of a nice way to, again, have a bit of a break from the crowds. Anytime you're traveling during a really busy time of year, you have to think through, how can we get away from the people just to take a little bit of a breather? So eating at your resort is one way that I really like to do that. So then we're going to go back after dinner, and we're going to go ahead and close out Hollywood Studios. Now, Hollywood Studios is one of the parks that you have a couple of options at park close to get out of there. It doesn't seem to be as bad as some of the other parks, but you have some options. And now with the, oh, for God's sake, Skyliner? Why can't I remember what it's called? Yeah, the Skyliner. The gondolas. Now with that, you have a couple options. You could gondola over to Epcot if you wanted, and then you could go get an Uber from Beach Club or Yacht Club. I mean, granted, that would be the scenic route, but it would be less like frenetic. Like I'm going to be the person that's like either hanging back or going forward, but I am not going to be in that crush of people. Another option at Hollywood Studios is just freaking take your time. Like just walk slow, spend some time in the shops, just like wait as long as possible to exit the park, and then either do Uber, Lyft, minivan. You could do the buses if they didn't look too horrible. But again, allow extra money for transportation in the summer. Just trust me, you will not be sorry that you've done that. Again, this is a comfortable budget trip, so we really could squeeze in some Uber, Lyft, or even the minivans. All right, so now moving on to day 5. Where have we not been in a minute? That's right, we haven't been to Epcot. Now this is going to be a later start to the day, and I love this because we might have more like just a bit of a lie-in, get some sleep, enjoy those lovely, darkening curtains that they have at Port Orleans French Quarter that make the room really dark. And we're just going to sleep until we kind of feel like getting up and getting going. We're probably going to do lunch. We're going to head to Epcot, and we're probably going to do lunch at Sunshine Seasons. Again, air-conditioned. Plenty of indoor air-conditioned seating. We like everything over there anyway, so that way we're in the same area. We can do the Living Seas, which we adore. Again, it's air-conditioned. See where I'm going with this? We love that. This will be our day to do Spaceship Earth and just sort of enjoy Epcot when it's finished. No, Epcot's great. I really want it to be finished. Get it finished! Hurry! Okay, so we're gonna enjoy our day at Epcot. By the way, I love going and seeing my manatees. They are my manatees. You know that Coral and I last year actually did the not the scuba one, but actually like the snorkeling experience in the living seas. I wasn't in the tank with the manatees, obviously, because they're in a different place, but I've actually been in that big tank and swam with the sea turtles and the dolphins and all of that, and it was an unbelievable experience. So if you want to watch that video, there's not actually much to see in that video by way of the experience itself because they will not let you film, but it was I will never forget that day as long as I live. It was truly amazing. And I don't think I'll ever view the living seas the same way again either, because I got all that, behind the scenes input, and I got to hear from the marine biologists that work there. And it was truly unbelievable. By the way, that was a surprise for my husband, and so made it really fun. Okay, where were we? Epcot. Lunch at Sunshine Seasons. Back to the room for a break. Probably we're going to Uber back after our break. So again, our break is going to be between like 1 and 5. We're going to probably Uber. Well, not probably. We are. We're going to Uber or Lyft to one of the Epcot area resorts, probably Beach Club, because that's the shortest walk. And then we're going to go in the International Gateway instead of going to the front of the park, because we're going to spend our evening in World Showcase. And I don't want to arrive at the front of the park and have to walk all the way through to get to dinner. So International Gateway is a much better option. And then we're going to have dinner. Again, one of those choices you guys are going to be like, seriously? We're going to have dinner at Beer Garden. Sentimental favorite, and I have heard now that they're not doing it buffet style. It's an even better experience. They still have the entertainment. They still have my grapefruit beer, and we just really love the food there. Scott lived in Germany for a while growing up. His mom used to cook German food all the time. And again, did I mention? It's air conditioned. And not only is it air conditioned, but you feel like you're outside. So like if it's boiling hot outside, you come in and you're like, it's like this cool Bavarian evening with these lovely people that bring you grapefruit beer. I don't know what is better than that on a hot summer day. Nothing. The answer is nothing is better than that on a hot summer day. So that's where we're going to have dinner, and we will stay at Epcot. Since it's a fantasy trip and it's months away, let's pretend that the Epcot fireworks are happening, whatever iteration of that it is. We will enjoy that. And when we leave, we're going to go out International Gateway, maybe do some shopping at Beach Club or Yacht Club, maybe go get a drink at Boardwalk, and then we will go home from whatever of those resorts where we happen to be, again, via either Uber, Lyft, or minivan, because it's summer and it's crowded. We want to be happy. All right, and now the time has come. It is our final day. Now, normally what we'll do is have a flight that leaves like around 3 o'clock in the afternoon so we can have at least the morning in a park. So we're going to go back to Magic Kingdom, and we're going to pack up, check out, leave our bags with Bell Services. And what did I say we were going to do? We're going to rope drop, or at least try. We won't stress about it. But really this final morning at Magic Kingdom for me is about kind of soaking in the sights and the sounds. Is there any shopping that I want to do? Whatever rides we wanted to make sure we got in. We're going to have lunch at Pinocchio Village House, which I really like. They have a pasta there that I'm weirdly, I don't know why I like it. I just do. It's noodles and marinara sauce and a breadstick, but it makes me happy, so leave me alone. And again, what do we know about Pinocchio Village House? It's air conditioned. Yay! So you're out of the heat, you're a little bit out of the crowds. We're just going to kind of enjoy a day at Magic Kingdom. And again, we're going to leave around noon, probably maybe 1 o'clock, and we're going to head to the airport, sadly, and we're going to be on our way home. Now, we don't ever feel like we have to see it and do it all. But in the summertime, that becomes even more important because you will move more slowly in the summer. At least we do. We cannot move at the same pace in July that we can in January. And there's a reason why Southerners have this reputation for kind of talking slow and moving slow. It's just freaking hot, y'all. So it's a good idea to preserve your energy and to kind of take your time. So to me, if you're going to travel to Walt Disney World in the summer when it's crowded, you really have to embrace this kind of more laid back, relaxed vibe. Understand you're not going to get it all done. When it's really crowded and people start getting on your nerves, put yourself in timeout. Even if it's not your break time, there are always places, even in the most crowded theme parks, that you can maneuver your way to where it's just a little bit calmer and a little bit more quiet. And yeah, if you guys would like a whole video about that, I did one a long time ago, but it's probably due for me to update it because I'm a person that when things are crazy, I just need a timeout. I'd be happy to share with you my kind of Jen's baby care stations. The places where I go when I just need a minute, because sometimes you just need a minute. So definitely, it's important anytime you're at Walt Disney World, but it is especially important in the summertime. I so wish we were actually taking this trip. I really do love Port Orleans French Quarter. I cannot wait until it opens back up again. It's not only a fabulous place to be in the summer, it is romantic, and you can get some really good deals there, especially since some of the other moderates have become a lot more popular with the Skyliner and all of that. But this trip that Scott and I planned, I'm like, I feel pretty good about this. This is a lot of fun. Okay, last thing before I let you go. Are you ready? We have to draw for our next installment. So again, I don't know what are in these. If you missed last time, there's a different thing in each of these Loungefly backpacks. So I have no idea what order they're in. I don't even know, like we're just gonna pick. We're just gonna see what happens. And whatever I pick, the next planning video will be for this trip. So we have got, not again, hot. I put, the only categories I put in there were winter, hot, and very hot. And then our next category, shaking, this is the Mickey Mouse one. What do I have? Okay, okay, what is this? Oh, okay, the resort is going to be really interesting because our money is what's a budget, which means sky's the limit for this next one. So we could really spend whatever money on whatever we want. Oh my gosh, now I'm dying to find out what resort we're going to get. Okay, so we have hot. What's a budget? We don't care. We're like the Kardashians going to Disney. Who cares? My $20,000 diamond earrings. Okay, wait. Okay, now what's this one? Okay, now this is crowded. Now this isn't as crowded as the last one we did, but still crowded. So, you know, we might be able to do a few more things, but we're still gonna have it be crowded, which actually, if money is no object, what do I care? Crowded is fine if money is no object. Okay, this is the one I'm dying though, because I really want a good resort for having no budget. Okay. That's actually pretty good if the sky's the limit, because I can think of where I would stay at this particular resort if the sky's the limit. And we are going to be at Saratoga Springs. And honestly, I have gotten to like Saratoga Springs much better in recent years. And the reason I'm excited about this is if we're at Saratoga Springs and money is no object, then that means we can stay like in a 1-bedroom villa. And that opens up a lot more options, a lot more comfortable, a lot more room. Yeah. Okay, so that will be our next trip, which it's interesting that it's a DVC resort because we can plan it along that, you know, those lines. Oh my gosh, I like packed up my filming, started editing the video, had a glass of wine, and realized I didn't draw party size. That was the one that I forgot. So it's in here. So let's draw party size. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, we got my family. So it's my family, hot weather, crowded, Saratoga Springs, money is no object. I know I can do this trip because I have done this trip. So come back next week, next Friday, we're gonna plan this trip together. Ah! And if money's no object, I don't know, maybe we add on points while we're there. Okay, so if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do it. Make sure you turn on your bell notifications so that you don't miss any of my videos. If you're not already one of my patrons, consider joining because you'll not only get exclusive content, including all of my YouTube videos in podcast form, but also live streams that are just for patrons. And we have our next one tomorrow. So it would be really fun to see you there. And then I'll see you back here next Friday, where we are going to plan a luxury trip to Saratoga Springs, and I can't wait to see you then. Whatever you're doing, be really, really good to each other, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.